Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes or no?
Yes, Jackie, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, let's start the session. So, guys, welcome to 28th Surat MuleSoft meetup. Okay. In today's meetup, we're going to discuss about how to expose and consume the SOAP web services. Basically, like how we can make use of SOAP kit router. Similar, this is similar to API kit router. And apart from that, we'll also see how we can enable the API governance on the existing SOAP service and how we can enable a HTTPS based SOAP service. So these are the four things we are going to see in today's session. Okay. So organizer for today's meetup is myself and Nitish Jain. So Nitish, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Jackie. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nitish Jain. I'm all certified MuleSoft developer architect. I have recently completed my MCPA, and I have around 3 years of experience in MuleSoft.
Thanks,
Well,
Nitish.
yeah. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah. Speakers for today's meetup is Ashwini. So Ashwini, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Jitendra. So myself, Ashwini, I'm a senior solution architect currently working in Epicero, coming with 15 years of IT experience. I'm also a certified developer and a platform architect. Apart from that, I am also a TOGAF certified enterprise architect and a public speaker. So that's a brief about me. Thank you.
Yeah. So myself, Jitender. So basically, I have overall 13 plus years of experience in APIs and integration technology. Currently, I am the MuleSoft ambassador and the Surat Nasik MuleSoft meetup leader. Plus, we are going to start a new meetup group that is for exclusive for engineering student. So basically, if anybody wants to learn the MuleSoft, they can participate in those meetups. So those meetup will be mostly focused on the basic of MuleSoft and plus how one can evolve his career in the MuleSoft basically. Okay. Apart from that, like I have expertise in setting up MuleSoft platforms, basically like like Cloud Hub, like VPC, VPN, dedicated load balancer. Then like also experience in setting up hybrid implementation customer roasted mule runtime plus runtime fabric manager. Then expertising in API integration like using API led connectivity, microservices, event driven architecture, like have experience in doing the integration with various other systems. Yeah, and also I also part of a pre-sales and the consulting where I define the roadmap for any customer. So like how they can use the MuleSoft and can do the digital transformation, basically those kind of things. Yeah. So introduction, like agendas for today's meetup, like we already have an introduction, and then we will see what are the new things has been released by the MuleSoft. So like there are a lot of new things has been released recently by MuleSoft in month of October. We will going to discuss today. It will be just high level, not we will go deep inside the like each and every feature. Recently on 14th October, there is a new one more feature has been released by MuleSoft, and that I will explain what is that feature. Then we will discuss about how to publish the API using the SOAPKit router, then consuming the SOAP services, then enabling the API governance for the existing SOAP service, and enabling the HTTPS for the SOAP service. Basically, we will see how we can use the secret manager to make this existing web service as a HTTPS. Basically, okay. So yeah, so MuleSoft recently released some feature. One of the feature is transit gateway. So basically, MuleSoft released one feature that is known as a transit gateway. So transit gateway is nothing. It simplify your network. Basically, it act as a cloud router. So with transit gateway, like if you want to connect multiple resources existing in different data center and different AWS VPC or maybe in Azure cloud, or maybe in Oracle cloud, or maybe in GCP cloud. So you don't have to make that many of connection directly from any point platform. You can make it your transit gateway. So transit gateway will talk to all this data center, and from any point platform you can just simply create a connection between AWS transit gateway and any point transit gateway. So that's a one of the feature which has been released by MuleSoft, which is very important. So previously, like, we have to maintain a lot of connections on the MuleSoft. Basically, if I want to connect AWS VPC, I create VPC peering. I want to connect a corporate data center, I have to create a VPN IPsec tunneling. So those kind of things. So instead of creating all those things on any point platform, you can create a transit gateway in AWS, and AWS can take care of all this connection. You just have to create a connection between two transit gateway, Anypoint Transit Gateway and AWS Transit Gateway. Okay. Recently, with Mule 4.4, MuleSoft has released the feature called MDC logging, which is mapped diagnostic context. So basically, what is this? So with MDC logging, you can basically enrich your log. So log when you logging any events in any like external tool or on Mule runtime, so you can add some extra variable. So you can add some extra name value pair. So you can easily search those logs. So basically, let's consider I am getting some query parameter in my URL, so what you can do, you can like send those query parameters with your log, with your log. So in events you can add some variables, so it will make your log searchable easy. So basically you are unreaching your log. So to enable MDC login, so MuleSoft introduced a new module which is known as the Mule tracing module. By default, that module is not enabled on or not available on Anypoint platform. So you have to go to Exchange and you have to install it from the Anypoint Exchange basically. The second feature, they have come up with correlation ID management. So with correlation, what is happening, like previously MuleSoft generated its own correlation, like they are generating correlation ID automatically. But with Mule 4.4, like, yeah, definitely Mule will definitely generate the correlation ID automatically, but you have a liberty where you can generate your own correlation ID basically. So why we require your own correlation ID? So whenever you are sending the logs or whenever you are sending the correlation ID, some of the receiver may not support the correlation ID supported, like correlation ID generated by MuleSoft, or maybe length of correlation ID is not supported. So they require the correlation ID in some format. So now you have a liberty, you can generate your own correlation ID with Mule 4.4 basically. Okay, so you can check that. So with tracing module, you have it's simple, like you have something called configuration in global element. In configuration in global element, so there you will see a new field which is known as a correlation ID generator basically. In that you can define your own expression, then like throughout the flow it will use the same correlation ID which you have generated basically. So apart from that, there are many new features introduced as a part of DataWave. So if you see, they have introduced features like index of last index of on null, then as a part of DW code, they've introduced DW code dates. Basically, they have introduced a new functions or new operator in the string module, like collapse, count characters by, count match. You can check all this. And now the one of the important thing, like people face a lot of issues with coercions basically, right? So when you are doing the typecasting and all those things, so MuleSoft introduced a similar typecasting as a Java, like dot to string, dot to date time. So those kind of functions is now available. You can make use of dot to date, dot to string, to string, to date time, to number. Those kind of functions is available now. DW util meta match. So they have introduced a new module, so where you can perform various mathematical operations. Then it is also very important periods. So basically, when you want to subtract two date and when you want to add some days and all those things, so they have introduced a new DataWave model which is util period. So where you can calculate the days between number of days between two dates, number of years between two dates. Then apart from that, also you can add the duration to the date. Those kind of functions has been introduced. Then DW utility tree, which we don't use that much, and DW util value. Okay, so these are the some modules introduced by the MuleSoft. Okay, now there is a one more thing. So recently, on 14th of October, MuleSoft has released the support for async API basically. So what does async API means? So let me show on my screen. Okay, if you go to design center, so like for RAML, like you write the RAML and open API specification, that is the Swagger for your REST APIs, right? So similarly, now you have a feature called async API where you can write, or you can you can write async API for your events and for your event driven API basically. So this is one of the example. So I've created that. So here you can see, so now you can write async API. So basically you have a channel. So channel is nothing like it can be queue or it can be topic. The channel can publish or consume the message. So right now you can see there is a publish, and this is the payload, and there is a subscribe. So you can see there is a definition for publish, and like similarly, like you can have a definition for your subscribe. This is nothing queue name. So this queue name subscribe the message, this book thread basically publish the message. So those kind of capability you can define here. So this is one of the a good, like good thing which has been recently introduced by MuleSoft. So these are the three things which has been recently introduced by MuleSoft as a part of Anypoint platform or as a part of MuleSoft runtime basically. Okay, any question? Abe, like when you write the event, see when you people come across a lot of things like so basically you can design your API using RAML for your HTTP based API. But when you are using the like subscribe and publish kind of mechanism where you are publishing the message to queue and you are subscribing the message from queue, you are publishing the message from top to the topic, and you are subscribing the message from topic, right? In those cases, like you don't have a definition anywhere basically, right? Right, in those cases you don't, like for event driven you don't define any definition anywhere, right? So with async API you can define or you can design the event based API basically. Okay, so yeah, right now I don't know how much what kind of things it can be done. I need to explore that. But yeah, so now for event based architecture we have async API basically where you can design the API for your publish and subscribe kind of. So like you have a HTTP method, post, get, and put, and something like that. In event, you have a message called, you have a two method, publish and subscribe. So for publish, what kind of message format it support? What is the queue name? For subscribe, what kind of message format it support? What is the queue name? So those kind of thing you can design with your async API. Got away? Away, you got that? Okay. So let me. I think Abhay, you got like where business use case. It's not about the business use case. Definitely, like you can like similarly you can expose those async API on the developer portal. Like you talk about the API specification. So similarly, you can have a async API specification basically where developer come and see like what is the message format supported and what are the different method it supported, right? So that is where you can make use of async API. Yeah. So. Nitish, can you give a mic access to Siva? Okay, so let me hand over this session to Ashwini. So Ashwini, you can take the session from here. So I will just stop sharing. You can stop your, you can share your screen basically.
Sure. Thanks, Jitendra. Yeah. Just give me a minute. Yes. So I hope you're able to view my screen.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's today see about a web service. Okay. So we all are aware like what a web service is, right? So web services are nothing but open standard based web applications that primarily interact with other web applications for purpose of exchanging the data. Okay, so whenever you have two systems and you want to exchange data between the applications, there comes your web service in picture. Okay, it is available over the internet or intranet and uses the standardized XML messaging system. Okay, and it is not tied to any operating system or programming language. It is self-describing via common XML grammar. Okay, and discoverable via simplified mechanism. Okay, so when you have two systems and when you want to use XML as a mode of communication, and that is available over HTTP or SOAP, which is XML based messaging system, and over internet or intranet, then you call it a web service. Okay, So the basic web service platform will consist of XML plus HTTP. Okay, HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, and all the standard web services work using the SOAP, UDDI, and WSDL. See, these are the main components what I'm talking about in a web service. So what is SOAP? Okay, so the SOAP is nothing but a protocol, simple object access protocol, where when you want to establish communication between two systems, you need a mediate way of communication, right? And how do you know that a service is available? That is when you expose it, discover it, or enable it for public. So how do you do it using web service? Using UDDI, that is Universal Description, Discovery, and Integration. Okay, and then how do we describe this complete service? We describe this using a WSDL. That's called a Web Service Description Language. Okay. So these are the three components which are involved in any web service. Okay. So coming to the architecture or inside, how does it work? How does the web components interact with each other, right? We have a service provider which contains a service and service description. Okay. And it implements the service and makes it ensure it's available over the internet. Okay. That is about the service provider. Okay, and every time wherever you have a provider, you also need to have a consumer in place, right? So consumer is any person, or a consumer is just a business actor who tries to utilize an existing web service by opening a network connection and sending an XML request. Okay, so usually the service consumer is bound to your service provider, okay, by using a web service binding. Okay, and then we have a service registry. Service registry basically is a logical centralized directory of all these services. The registry provides a central place where developers can publish new services or find existing ones. So whenever you publish, suppose I publish a service, okay, and if I don't make it available over intranet or internet, how will a consumer know that such a service exists, right? So in order to make it visible or available, we have the service registry. That is nothing but your UDDI. Okay, it is a centralized house for where all the services reside. Okay, so these are the activities or the major components in a web service. Okay, so you need to have a service provider. When you have a provider, so I'm providing a service, somebody else is going to consume my service, but how will he know that that service exists? He'll fetch it from the UDDI, find the WSDL from the UDDI, and then you will be able to consume the web service. Okay, so now let's see how do we consume the SOAP service. Okay, so let me just quickly show you how do we consume in Studio. So I have a public service. So this, how did I fetch this service? How do I know the service is available? This is registered in a UDDI. Okay, so when I just go online and look for it, I'm just able to find it. Okay, it's available in a public registry, UDDI. Okay, so this is nothing but a calculator service. Any service, web service for that matter, will have a WSDL in place. That is your web service description language. Okay, so it contains 5 major components. Okay, it basically contains your WSDL types. Okay, which includes all your different various operations, input types and output types. Okay, that is about your types. And you have WSDL messages, like what are the different parameters for each of the operation you support. You have a port type, you have a binding. Okay, that is your web service binding, WSDL binding, and then you have a port, exposed port. Okay, that is your WSDL location, WSDL port, which contains your SOAP address where your service is residing. Okay, so these are the 5 main components of any web service. Okay, so you can find directly the location of this endpoint using this SOAP address. Okay, that is your registry address. Okay, so now let us see how do we consume this SOAP service in Anypoint Studio. Okay, so we'll quickly go file new Mule project. Okay, and I'll say finish. Okay. Okay. Simple listener. Okay, and now I can actually search for a consume operation here. Okay, see, you have a web service consumer has one operation that's called web service consume operation. Okay, so I'll just drag and drop a consume operation, and now I will show you how to configure this consume operation. Okay, click on add. Okay, and here is where I actually give your WSDL location. Okay, so once I give the WSDL location, the service will get automatically populated. Okay, what is the service available? And then within the service, you can select the port type and the address. Okay, and then click on OK. So this is how we configure a simple web service. Okay. Right. So, and then we do the mapping. So in the interest of time, I already have a service which I have created. Okay. I will just walk you through how it is done. Okay. So this is the same drag listener, which I just put it on the palette. Yeah. And I have given a simple endpoint. And then here we need to pass the two arguments, that is your variables. Okay. And then, so when you drag and drop a web service consume operation, automatically in your transform message, the input message type will get populated. Okay, so we just have to do the data transformation for that. Okay, and then you can choose the operation in the consume. Okay, so currently I have done it for one operation, that's the add. Okay, and then I'm just mapping the resultant output. Okay, so this is how we actually do the consumer SOAP service. Okay, which is publicly available. Okay, so let me quickly bring this up. In meantime, I would like to tell you. When we do this data mapping, the input type is available. Okay, so when we try to do the output mapping, we need to create a schema. Okay, a schema is simple XML. Okay, which can either contain just input and output. Okay, this is how a simple response would look like. Okay, you need to attach this response. Okay. To map do the data weave transformation. Okay, so once it is ready, it'll just give me a minute. It is taking some time. Any doubts, guys, about how do we consume our SOAP service? It is pretty straightforward. You have a web service consumer and you have one consume operation. In the consume operation, you need to configure the endpoint. Okay, and automatically the operation port binding, everything gets updated for you. Okay, so now that the application is started, okay, so let me go to my just check the endpoint /test. Okay, good. So I have to pass the SOAP envelope. Okay, so I am just passing two-way or attributes. Okay, so let me just change this way value. Okay. Okay, so I'm just passing the input here and then submitting a request. Okay. Oops. Looks like there is an error. Probably just because of the other one. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Just let me give it a minute and retry. Okay. I will have to check this. I will have to check this, but this is exactly how it works. Okay, so you have to pass the XML input for this, and then just the mapping, and it should work. Okay, so I think there's something wrong.
In transform message, are you converting as number or not? Like as number.
But where is
number? It
Okay.
was saying
Here.
Page number. Yeah. Page number again.
Yeah, I did.
Try now.
Yeah. Just seeing if it's deployed.
No need to just save it.
Yeah. Uh, it's not in correct format. It is in the right format. Let me just restart this, okay?
What you are doing in set payload?
It's just the payload where I'm taking the input. Yeah. Payload.
You don't.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think what is the problem here? Like, do you need to send this soap envelope and all those things? I don't think so, right?
Only the basic payload is inside.
Yeah, you don't have to send all this space, soap envelope and body.
Mm-hmm.
You can remove this because
And in the transformation, I guess you're doing actually this payload.var.var1, right?
Yeah.
Where is var1?
I haven't defined it right. Yeah.
That is why it's
So
changed that.
you simply write payload dot something like that. Simply field name payload dot whatever field name you are passing from
Yeah,
front end.
correct.
mm-hmm.
Can you go to Can you remove this all? It was just a
Or
minute. Can
just
you go there?
hard code anything right now. Let's hard
Yeah.
code anything.
Okay. Sure.
No need to do the number and all those things. Just remove it.
Yes. It is expected. Okay. So no surprises.
That's okay. Demos in the history of demos have never worked.
Right. Yes. Okay. Now that is deployed, so I think it should work. Let's see. I'll remove the payload once. Yes, the value is coming. Whatever I had passed here, that's getting picked up. 7 and 8. Okay. So that result value is 15. Yeah. So yeah, so we can just try to pick the data from here and then parse it. It will work. Yeah. So the full-fledged example is here, where we have, based on the different operations, we can actually route it to the various services. Okay. So we have just used a simple choice router here, and based on the operation name, which I will pass. Okay. So in the listener, I'm basically trying to pick the operation name. Okay, so whether it is add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, and then I am just capturing that action which I'm passing in the endpoint URL, and then I am checking. If it is add, then this flow will get triggered. Okay, so the internal steps are still the same. Okay, I've done the input mapping, and then I've dragged and dropped the consume operation. But the difference between the consume operation in each of these flows is that we have selected the different operations which is available within your SOAP service. Okay, for exposure. So this is a full-fledged calculator service. Okay. So now getting back to my presentation. So let's see how do we how do we consume, how do we expose a SOAP service? Okay, so how does, we all know it is pretty simple. MuleSoft definitely supports this web service consume operation. But now let's see how do we expose a SOAP service in Mule4? Okay, so for that, we have something called API kit. Okay, so API kit for SOAP supports consuming a remote WSDL. Okay, but the only challenge of exposing a SOAP service in MuleSoft is you need to build the WSDL on your own. Okay, you need to create it remotely and you need to place it in your physical location, file location, and you can try to expose that web service. Okay, the SOAP service interface that we create accesses the data resources and integrates the interfaces with the backend processes that functions as an API. Okay, so every time we actually try to expose a SOAP service, unlike other IDEs, people from Java background will know JDeveloper basically predominantly gives us an UI for creating a WSDL in the IDE, right? But unlike any other IDEs in MuleSoft, we need to create the WSDL on our own. Okay, so for that, what I have done, I have just created a simple Hello World WSDL here. Okay, just like always, please understand the WSDL will contain all the 5 major components which I already explained. Okay, it contains a message, your code type, your operation, your binding, and then your location where it is getting exposed. Okay. Somebody, can you please go on mute? I hear a lot of backend noise. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Right. I have just created a simple WSDL which contains all the 5 major components. Okay, this you have to build it on your own. Build the WSDL on your own. Okay, so what this SOAP router basically creates, it creates one mule flow for each operation you define. Okay, suppose you have 5 operations. Okay, then 5 flows will get created. Okay, so based on the number of flows, number of operations, so many flows will get created in SOAP router. Okay, so this is a standard WSDL structure I have created, and I'm just having one operation that is called say hello, which is currently exposed on my local host. So this is my server endpoint URL. So how do we do it or expose that service using Mule 4? So now there is a simple tweak here. Okay, when we have to just create Mule project, say expose hello service. Okay, and here I need to upload the WSDL file, okay, which I have created. So I will just say hello service WSDL, and automatically it will scaffold the SOAP kit for me. Okay, I will just say finish. Okay, so you see the SOAP router. Okay, this SOAP kit router automatically got scaffolded. Okay, it just like API kit router, you will also have this dummy implementation provided for you. Okay, so you just click here. Here it says the SOAP kit is not being implemented. Okay, so I have tried to, in the interest of time, I have completed this exercise here using the same flow and implemented a simple hello world here. Okay, with the dummy implementation, we already have a transform message here. So I'm just taking a variable as an input. Okay, and then I'm just trying to print the variable. Okay, I'm not doing anything here. Okay, so one thing we have to understand here explicitly is about the presence of this module. Okay, so wherever we are trying to use the SOAP kit within our flow, right, or whenever we are trying to expose a SOAP service, this is very important. Okay, we need to actually scaffold or include this XML module explicitly. Okay, so how do we do that? We just go to a project, right click, Mule, go to manage dependencies, manage modules, and then you have to select your XML module. So you just click on add, and this is featured modules. You can simply select your XML here. Since I've already added, it's not coming here. Okay, but it will, you have to add this XML module in your project for your when you're trying to expose any SOAP service. Okay, using MuleSoft. That is very primary important parameter you need to consider or keep in mind. Okay, and whenever you are trying to do any message transformation within your Mule application, we need to understand that we have, since we have to give the path of where the variable resides or where it needs to look for your application. Okay, so what we have to do here is, in the XPath, if you see here what I have done, this is your XPath, which basically looks for the first name text in the payload. It will basically extract the content from the payload dot body, and contain it. It may be like and treat the data as raw data. Okay, so it should be treated as a binary. Okay, so what happens whenever you are giving this, you need to traverse to the element where you are trying to fetch the data. Okay, so this data wave transformation, this module will help you pick the element within your XML file. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so these are the two things you need to keep in mind when you're trying to expose a SOAP service. Okay, and whenever you are trying to expose a SOAP service using MuleSoft, you need to understand that first you have to include this XML module, which gets updated in your applications pom.xml, obviously, right? Whenever you add any modules, if you search for XML, the XML module would have got added here. Okay, so you have to add your XML module. You need to traverse to the element where you want to do message transformation. Okay, and then you have to basically give the XPath for the variable where you're trying to expose. And one more thing you need to observe is in the logs is the server's publish address will be mentioned in your server. Okay, currently, since I'm testing in localhost, you can simply search for servers publish address. So suppose you are trying to have any publish address. Okay, so just give it a minute, it will come up. It will basically tell you if you're having an IP address, or if you're having a remote server, or if you're deploying on CloudHub, that CloudHub address will be displayed in your server logs. Okay, and that is where you can actually try to find where your WSDL is exposed. Initially, the WSDL was local to your system. Okay, and then now it is available on a server. Okay, so anybody can actually consume it. Okay, the server's address will become your UDDI. Okay, it will become a registry. Okay, so servers. Okay, so you see here, so server's address is set to this one now. If I simply copy this address and hit on the browser with the question mark WSDL, I should be able to find this address. Okay. See, just like we have a public calculator service, even my Hello World service is available on a server. Okay, so if I put it on any CloudHub, I can simply hit it through the CloudHub and make it publicly available for consumption. This is how you basically expose a SOAP service. Okay, so now you simply go to the SOAP UI and you pass any parameter. Okay. Okay, and you try to test it. Okay, so you get the response. Okay, fine, guys. Any doubt? How do we expose a SOAP service? There are a few prerequisites which are required for exposing the SOAP service. This is supported only from the latest version of Studio and 4.1.1 Mule Runtime Engine itself. It supports both SOAP 1.1 and 1.2. And how do we identify this? This is very important. So in your, if we go to our calculator service, consume SOAP, here you can actually select in the configuration what type of endpoint you want to expose. Okay, so it supports both SOAP 11 and SOAP 12. Okay, right. Yeah, Studio includes the API Kit SOAP extension. That's why it will scaffold you, and then you can obtain the WSDL and you can simply test it on your either Anypoint platform or in your local. Any doubts, guys? I would like to pause for a minute here. I will stop sharing. Let me just check questions. Okay. So I think that's all I had, Jackie, and that's over to you again.
Thanks, Aswini, for this session. It was nice, great session. So this give a deep understanding about like how to publish and consume the SOAP services using SOAPKit router and like web service consumer connector, basically. Yeah. So we will see some more demos. We will just extend this session to see some more demos. So basically, like, can you see my screen first? Okay. So we will see, like, let's consider if we have an existing web service and we need to enable the API governance, or like we have to enable the AnyPoint platform. So how can we do? Going to discuss about that. Then also we will see like how we can enable the HTTPS web services using secret manager and the API manager. And also we will see like one more demo. So you have some web services that is enabled with some kind of authentication. Okay. So how can, like, you can configure that authentication in web service consumer connector. So these are the three demos we're going to see. It will not take more than 15-20 minutes. So but yeah, so I think those demos will be more interesting, because like generally you will mostly get the, like, you have a set of web services which is exist on your own premises basically, or maybe in some data center, and you need to enable the API governance on the top of it. How can we do that? So we will going to discuss that solution. Definitely come across such kind of scenarios basically. So let me share my presentation so you can see that. So I have, can you see my screen, right? I think yes. So this is my SOAP service, exists somewhere in the world basically. And like the customer want to enable like API governance. Currently the SOAP service doesn't have any kind of governance on the top of it. So the customer came to me and asking me like, I want to enable governance basically. So I can choose my AnyPoint platform API manager, where we have a API analytics, API gateway, policy, governance, and kind of security basically. So you can do that. And how we can do that? We will create a API proxy. That API proxy will talk to the SOAP service, and we will enable the governance on that particular API proxy. And the client will talk to API proxy. They will not directly talk to the SOAP service. So scenario to you. So for that, I will move into AnyPoint platform basically. So I will go to API manager. So I will use the simple calculator service again. So let me check where is that. I have it somewhere. Let me find it out. Yeah, I have it here. I have a simple calculator service having the 4 method, like subtract, add, multiply, and divide. So these are the 4 methods available. So let me open that, and I will 4 method, and there is a no governance on this, and I need to enable some kind of governance on this. So what I can do, I can go to my API manager, I can click on this manage API, and I can say create a new API, and I will give calculator, any name you can give, calculator service demo. Okay, then select what type I want. SOAP API WSDL, the visual name, so that is web service description language. So you can just save this WSDL on your desktop, and you can give it. Okay, so I have already done that, so I can go to desktop, and this is my visual. Okay, and I will say continue. Let's wait. So here I will select endpoint with proxy, because it will not support API discovery, because it's a non-MuleSoft API. So I want to use the endpoint with proxy. I want deployment target as a cloud of Mule4, and I have to provide the implementation URL. So I will provide this as my implementation URL. Provide service name, service port, and service namespace. So if you go at the end, so you will find a service name which is calculator. You can copy this service name. Then you want to give a service port. So make sure you give a service port name. Don't give a binding name. Give a port name. I will use SOAP port name. So port name basically. Then you have to give a target namespace. Service namespace, nothing. It's a target namespace. So you can go at the top and you can find this target namespace. Copy this and paste it here. Okay. I will just save it. Okay. So now I will select the latest version, Mule 4.4.0, which is now visible in your API manager. I will give some name, calculator API service, and I will say So it will deploy a proxy application. Let me go to runtime manager and let me check. Any doubt, any question? So like Bhupendra, that API kit is nothing, that is the SOAP kit only, okay? They call it that also as a API kit, but that is the API kit for the SOAP basically. So that is the SOAP kit router. So it is deploying the application. I will grab this URL. The first thing, I will generate a SOAP project. So using this file, new SOAP project, I can use the WSDL, calculator WSDL at the desktop. I can go. I will say okay. So in this we have four method, like add, delete, and all those things. And this is the URL. So I can say 21. This is the direct URL, right? So this is not a proxy URL. This is the direct URL. So I got the result back, but I want to use the proxy URL. So I have already copied that. Let me copy it again. Okay, so this will be my URL. I don't want to give any method name, nothing. Like here, you are passing the method name as a part of your payload, basically. So let me check if application started. Any question, like, does anybody come across such kind of scenario where like you have a existing SOAP service and you need to enable the API governance? Does anybody come across such kind of scenario? I have one question. Can anybody tell me like what is the solution for that? Abhay, you need to see, this is just an example. I'm asking this question, if you can answer this, like, you know. So let's consider, right now, this is just for demo purpose. I've used the internet URL. Okay. So generally you should not do that. That is not the best practice. I have a question, like, I will tell you, that's why I'm asking. So I have a question here. Generally, in my cases, in most of the cases, your SOAP service will be available on your on premises, basically. And you are trying to create the API proxy on the cloud up. Then what kind of solution you need to implement? Can anybody answer this? So Abhay, you can give the host URL when you are using the hybrid implementation, like you are using the customer hosted Mule runtime, right? Correct. In that case, it's fine. You can do that. Not. Can anybody answer this question? This is very interesting question. Let me open with the presentation. So this is my SOAP service, exists on on-premise, and API proxy, which is deployed on your CloudHub basically. Now CloudHub cannot connect the SOAP service URL, which is your on-premise, but I want connectivity between a CloudHub and your SOAP services. So what will be the solution for that? Anybody can answer. I will give the answer. Just think about that. So now I will test this URL. Let's see what happens. So I got the successful response with this particular URL also. Let me copy this URL. I want complete solution. What we are going to do? So you got the WSDL for this particular URL also. So in most of the case, this is the scenario which I have told you right now, right? So you will get such kind of scenario. So basically your web services might be in some private data center, and you want to create a proxy which is in CloudHub, and you need to enable the API governance. What will be the solution? You can think. I will give a 5 minute. You can think of that, and anybody can answer this. You know, this is very interesting question basically. So this is one thing. So now we are doing same thing, like, now what I can do, I can enable, I will go to an API manager and I can apply the policy to this API basically, So I can apply the policy to this API. I will give the solution, don't worry. So let's wait for that. What is the solution? I will give it to you. Apply new policy. Then you can say basic authentication simple, configure policy. I will say admin. So now I applied the API policy or security policy on the top of my API basically, right? So let's wait. It takes 45 seconds to reflect right now, if I will test, it will be successful. It generally takes 45 seconds, basically. Okay, good. Sometime it happens within 45 seconds. Okay, now it's saying some like unauthorized register authentication. Postman for now, because generally I don't know, my basic authentication is not working in SOAP UI. So what I will do, so generally I will use the authentication. I will use base authentication. I will use admin. So generally, once you put the basic authentication username and password, it generate authorization header. So this base 64 string, which consists of your username and password with basic. So I will copy this. SOAP UI, add the header. So what is that header? Authorization. Okay, and I put this value. Then I will send the request. I got the successful response basically. Now I will do that solution. So generally in this case, what you will do, so your SOAP service exists on on-premise. So basically you will create a Anypoint VPC, and you will make sure your proxy get deployed in your Anypoint VPC, and you will create a VPN connection between your Anypoint platform and your data center where this SOAP service exists. Basically, what you have to do, you have to create Anypoint VPC, ensuring that your application get deployed in the Anypoint VPC. Then you extend your Anypoint platform to the corporate network or to the data center where your SOAP service exists using VPN IPsec tunneling. Is the answer your question? Let's consider this SOAP service is in AWS VPC, and I deploy the proxy in Anypoint VPC. So what, and in the same region, this is also in US East 1 region. The SOAP service is also exist in AWS VPC US East 1 region. So what mechanism you will going to use to connect Anypoint VPC and the SOAP service, AWS VPC, where SOAP service exists? Can anybody tell me this? No. So because like your SOAP service exists in AWS private VPC, and Anypoint your proxy, the proxy exists in your Anypoint VPC, right? So now how will connect both VPCs basically, because both are private VPC, right? No transit gateway. Transit gateway is do that, but there's a one term I require. Yeah, Devendra, you are right. It's VPC peering. We can do the VPC peering basically. So you can do a VPC peering basically. Okay. So now I will show you one more demo. I will create one small project, new project. Then I can say a web service, consumer app. Yes. Okay, I'm just creating one HTTP listener. Then I'm just creating OK/test. Then I'm also creating web service consumer. Drag and drop here. Okay, I will click on this plus sign. This URL, and I will give the path. I will say WSDL, but it should not populate the password and all. It will not populate, right? Because it have a username and a password. So what that I can go to the transport. In transport, I can do the HTTP transport configuration. I can click on requester config plus. I don't want to give any host name, nothing. You just have to go to authentication, say basic authentication, provide admin. That is my username and password for that service. In case, let's consider if you have some TLS kind of configuration, you want to do the certificate kind based authentication. So you can do the TLS configuration by click edit, inline, those kind of. You can define your trust stored and key stored basically. But right now I was a simple basic authentication. Okay, let me go back to general and let's see if those has been exposed.
Jitendra, I think you need to remove the forward slash after the
That's
IO.
fine.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Manually put that, Jaggi. I guess
Huh?
sometimes you have to manually put that. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I will do now.
Yeah.
So because sometimes you put the username and password. So what I can do, yeah, but it should do that. But that's fine. So you have to provide the service name. And so you can go to service here, calculator, you can copy this and provide that. Then you have to provide the port name. So basically port name is calculator shop. And you have to provide the address. So my address is this, cloudup.io. Okay. Let me check. Yeah, here it's showing operation add, divide, multiply, and subtract. I will use add. Okay. So that's the thing you have to do. So now you know how to set up the authentication and all those things. Now I can go to transform message. I'll put a transform message in the front of this. So where it will automatically show what is the input metadata to this consume operation. I will define my input like in out like input request. So I will say something like add JSON, create type. I will say JSON example. I go to desktop. In desktop, I have some add method. It have a two A and B. So simply select. I will just simply map it. That's it. Okay. Now consume operation is ready. So what you can do, I will just run the project. Okay. I don't want to define any authentication. I will say no auth because I've already defined the authentication at a connector level. And this is the method I will pass, message I will pass. Let's wait. Okay, now I will send the message. So I got the successful response, which is 14. If I change it to 20, I got a successful response, 24. Okay. So now other demo, how I can enable the HTTPS proxy. Does any? Okay. So for yeah, I want to enable HTTPS.
HTTPS
for this proxy. So for that, what you have to do, so you can go to API administrator.
Directly go to settings of that proxy. Yeah.
So basically, I will tell you. So you go to HTTPS and you have to provide this TLS context. Basically, how can you provide context? So for that, you have to set up a key store in secret manager. Basically, you can go to secret manager. Right, you can create a secret group which is like mule demo secret. See here. Now you have to provide the key store, right? So first we will use this key tool for generating the server key store one. So where this key store exists, so you can go to your JDK. So you can go to program file. I will use this JDK bin CMD. You can paste it. You have to provide the password for your key store. And I will give a local host name as, I will put everything empty. I will say yes. Now you have to provide the key password for like private key. Okay, your key generated. So it may be generated in certificates folder. Yeah, okay. Now I will go to my secret manager. I will say add. I will say mule key store. JKS is the format. And I can go to C certificates key store. Then I will give a passphrase for my key store, password for my private key. Okay, you can save it. Only letters. I think space is not allowed. Save it. Now I have to define a TLS context because there we require the TLS context. So I will say mule TLS target. So because I want to use this service for the Anypoint API manager, so I will use mule. If you are using the Anypoint security, this Anypoint security is a part of Runtime Fabric, right? So if you want to enable this, if you want to use the certificate for Runtime Fabric manager, so you can use the Anypoint security. Okay. I will use the key store which I've created now, Mule key store. There is a no trust store because it's a one-way communication. I will save it. I have done this. I will go to secret group. I will go to API manager now. Go to calculator service. In calculator service, now I will go to advanced option. I will change to HTTPS. I will add the inbound context. I will use that secret group and TLX context. That's it. Okay. Now redeploy the application. It will take. Before that, any question? Any question? Any question before we move? So here, like we are enabling the HTTPS for proxy, right? So for proxy, you don't have any you don't have any application where you can export in. You can do that, but so for proxy, generally it is recommended to use the secret manager, and like you can directly create a TLS context and just point to that. But yeah, you can definitely download the application and you can do that. So you can download the proxy application and you can definitely do from Anypoint Studio also. That is possible, Dharmendra. But I will not recommend it to do that. Like for proxy, you can always do from Secret Manager. If you have developed any application in your Anypoint Studio, then you can do from Anypoint Studio. So still, I think HTTP is enabled. Yeah, still I'm getting it because MuleSoft do the zero downtime updates, right? So still my HTTPS endpoint is up. So it takes some time. Let me check. Also, I will do one thing. I will go to consume. And here, where is my endpoint? I will go to edit. I will make this as a HTTPS. I will save it. Still, it's deploying. Let me check what happened. If I put still it's up. Any question? Generally, redeployment takes some time because MuleSoft generally do zero downtime update, so it takes some time basically because it has to change the URLs and all those things. So let's wait. guys, like it is generally we are not receiving many feedbacks, so I will generally ask everyone to at least provide the feedback for the session, like any future topic you want to learn about, like MuleSoft. So please provide with the feedback. So this will help us. So like what is your expectation and what you are looking for in the future, basically. Get started. Let me check if HTTP works. It should not work. Let me check. Taking some time.
Regenerate another SOAP UI request. It should work.
I feel. Let me check EPM and whether I have done this HTTPS or not. Sometime I forget to save it also. Yeah, I forget to save it. I know that. Shit. I need to save it before deploy, right? I forget to do that. But anyways, like so no problem. So we'll see that demo. Give me a second again. So it will take again 3-4 minutes. Sorry, it's my fault. Guys, any question on this? Any other question apart from this? Like, if you want any, like, are you getting like what are the things we can do with the web services also with from MuleSoft?
Like in YAML, we can enforce that the particular values are only required in but
Yes.
in a enum. So can we do the same in with WSDL and SOAP? So
We can do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yeah, Akshay.
okay.
When you write the XSD, right? In XSD, you can define what is required and what is not required. You can do in XSD. So basically, mostly your WSDL also contain the XML schema definition, right? And you
Mhm.
can do at that level basically. And you can also define what is the length required, like what is the maximum, what is the data type. Everything you can do there also in
Okay.
XSD. Here you can see this is my integer a, right? So
Mhm.
I'm saying type, mean occur, how many time maximum, also here define type. Similarly, there's a parameter require also. I think require something, but it is there where you
Mhm.
can say true false, basically whether it's required, it's mandatory or not. By default it's not mandatory basically.
Okay. All right. I'll check. Yeah. Thanks, Jackie.
Application is deployed.
I guess in today's world, we are more of writing RAM only rather than writing results. Right,
Correct.
exactly.
Yeah, ramal and open API specification.
Oh, yes,
Now
yeah.
you can. So when I send the request to HTTP, it's saying 405 because like we don't have any HTTP now. I will send to HTTPS. So we got the successful response. Let me check with Anypoint platform what is happening here. Like let's see what happens here. So let me send it. What bad gateway? Oh yeah, I haven't changed HTTPS here. I think I have changed it. Don't know. I have to do the changes in this transport also. It should be HTTPS. Okay. Yeah, we got the successful response also. In case like sometime you may get the error like SSL certificate is not configured because it's a HTTPS URL. So in that case, you can go to transport, you can edit it, you can create a trust store, okay, which contain the public key of your URL, and you can do the TLS configuration, edit inline. Like you can provide this or everything here, and or sometime you don't provide this. With it also work with insecure. You can check the insecure, and it will work. Yeah. So that's all about today's demos. So I think we have completed all the demos. So yeah. Any question before we start with trivia quiz? So our Nitish will conduct a quiz. Yeah, Nitish, are you ready? Yeah, I will stop sharing
Sure.
and stop recording for the session. Or should I keep the recording with quiz? Let's keep it.
Okay, sure. So hi guys. Thank you for the session, Jackie and Ashwini. It was a great session. Okay, so I'm bringing the Kahoot URL in the chat box. Let me share my screen. Okay, so my screen is visible.
Nitish, yes.
Okay, thank you, Ashwini. Yeah, sure, Abhay. Just a second. So I know everyone knows about Kahoot, but let me give a short brief. So, guys, we will be requiring two screens to play Kahoot quiz. On one screen, you will be getting the question. It's not a real pen, so we'll be getting a question and we'll be getting options over here. And with the second screen, we need to choose the color of the option, and there'll be a time of 10 seconds. So this is how it works. So this is a game pin 2105965. ALK, can you please rejoin?
The pin is 210. No, Abhay, pin is 2105965. Still, we have 5 people more to register. So, guys, 2 more minutes. Please register quickly. Then don't complain.
Yeah, because once the game is logged, no one can enter the game.
Yeah. So please do it fast. Ashwani, you don't have to play. You will get the voucher by default. At 30 seconds more. Guys, anybody want to start the camera? They can do that. Shiva. Shivakant Sau. I think he's not at the place now.
Yeah. Because I cannot see his name in Kahoot as well.
I think we should log the game.
Okay. Yes, sure, Jackie. Okay. So the game is locked and no one can else join. Okay, let me start the game. Welcome to Surat MuleSoft Meetup 28.
%. No.
Okay, so let's see the podium. Shyam, Ashok, and Gautam. Okay.
So guys, yeah. So stop after this question, okay? Nitish, I want to give some instruction.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. So 1 minute. Let.
Yeah.
So guys, there are something like some instruction I need to give related to voucher. If anybody has won the voucher in one last 1 month, right? So I think they are not eligible to get the second voucher in the same month. I think, right? So that's a one guidelines has been released by MuleSoft. Okay. And the second thing, basically, generally, whatever email ID you are providing to me for the voucher, please provide me a MuleSoft training account email ID. Basically, if that email ID is not registered with MuleSoft training, please don't provide it because you will not get any voucher. Make sure that email is registered for that training MuleSoft training account. Just ensure that. Yeah, Nitish, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. So, guys, hope everyone is clear with the guidelines provided by Jackie. Okay, let's see the podium. So, Shyam, Ajay, and Gautam. Okay. 3 more questions. Okay. So, Shyam, Gautam, and Santosh. Second last question. Okay. Shyam, Gautam, and Saddam. Last question. Okay. So let's see how podium looks. Ajay, Santosh, Saddam.
Shyam, Gautam.
Gautam.
Okay.
Congrats all.
Hard luck, DP and Shyam. Just a minute.
Sure.
Let me take the picture. Guys, everybody can on their camera. I will stop recording.